Good morning. Welcome back to the bench. The bench. I don't even know what to call this. This is what happens when too many people get together because they're bored. This is what happens when toilet paper companies create conspiracies. Yeah, I said it. Corona, made up by the toilet paper companies. Sorry. Just trying to keep it lighthearted here. I know a lot of people are being very affected by the COVID, the 19. It's a serious thing though. God knows it's brought us all in the gaming industry to our proverbial knees. But enough about that. Let me go turn down the music in the other room so that I don't get like flagged or sued. Be right back and we'll paint some things. Alright, so just tuning in, that 20 seconds of dead air that was brought to you by me leaving the radio on in the other room. But I'm back now. And I'm proud to say I'm here for you. I don't know how far we're going to get today. Got to get some furniture moved. Got to start thinking about kicking the doors open on this place. Letting them fly. Living the dream. We do, however, gotta reach over here. Gotta get a skull painted. Probably ought to consider painting this girdle. Just another rainy day here in merry old Oscoda. Might be a little early for some of you. Hell, it feels a little early for me. But we're not gonna let that stop us. Gonna get the old Facebooker popping. I'm gonna get this just a going. Shout out in the comments. Tell me how your day's going. Tell me how your morning's going. We're in this together. You are not alone. Swear. Should be able to get this popping over here pretty soon. Been watching a good friend of the shop, kind of our master builder, Casey Yarn. Been building a hell of a cabin out in the middle of nowhere. Gotta tell you, I find it absolutely fascinating. The man can build. The man can build. Just gonna tag along here, see where the day takes us, see what we can get done on our mini here, see how everything goes. Hopefully a few of you turn on, tune in, all those happy little rhythmic rhymes, and we'll have a good time this morning. You know, at some point, like I said, got some furniture, has to be moved. You know, I'm going to start opening these so that people can see me opening them. Because I know you guys like it when I get a blue thumb. We're just going to let a little drop of our skull color hit the mat there. Set that off to the side. We're using Screaming Skull. It's a layer paint. It's going to let us baste it on super thin, get it where we want it. Go ahead and make sure our brush is shaped the way we like it. Breaking my own rules here. What do we do first? We put some brush cleaner in the brush. Why do we do it? Because we want our paint on the brush. We don't want our paint in the brush. Alright, you guys can see. I mean, that allows us... Oh, I don't know if you can see. I don't know if this thing's going to focus. Focus, you! Alright, let me tip it back here where I can actually see it. Stop it from shaking. Maybe if I do this. Yeah, you can see. Gets a much nicer tip. Let's just get in there and paint really small stuff. And I mean, this is a fairly small brush. This is a 0. All right, there we go. Start painting this skull. I wish I could give you guys a set time or something that I'm going to do this, but the schedule is just too hectic to accommodate that. Got a D&D game coming up on the 2nd. Looking forward to playing. Little Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Was the mage that mad? I feel like these are reasonable questions. I mean, anybody who's played D&D for a long period of time knows the general area around where the Dungeon of the Mad Mage is. It's not so nice. It's not so wonderful. The Yawning Portal Tavern, built on top of it, kind of a notorious den of skeevy adventurers, and you know, it's another thing while we're touching on it. We'll get back to Hollow. Uh-oh. I'm beeping. Getting the old messages. I got the case of the instant messages. Gonna need to see a doctor. But yeah, getting back to Hollister in just a moment. We'll say that uh-oh. Suzanne's talking crap to us here. I have to sit down and actually watch a tutorial you do. I have lots to paint still, and I am not even half as good as you. Well, thank you, Suzanne. I really appreciate that you think that I'm that good. I try really hard. You know me, I'm kind of a particular person. That's a nice way of saying an anal prick. But I try really hard, and I tell you, I sit down all the time to paint, and I wish I was half as good as some of the guys that I watch do this. I mean, I see guys on the old YouTubes that are just amazing. And maybe 18 or 24 years from now, when my vision finally goes, I'll believe I'm a lot better at this than I actually am. Part of my tricks, I wear one contact lens. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I actually have I have 20/20 vision. They're just not at the same focal plane in both eyes. So I have one that's 20/20 vision, you know, in my normal field of view, and then my other eye is actually offset and gives me the illusion that they're about 20 or 30 feet apart. Not sure what the proper term for that is. I'm sure my eye doctor would know, my optometrist. But when I went in to get my glasses, he says, you know, you don't need to wear glasses. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we could give you one contact lens instead of having to wear glasses. I said, really? He goes, yeah, you only got one eye that's different than the other, right? I said, yeah. He goes, you got 20/20 vision, right? I said, yeah. He goes, well, easy solution. So I wear a contact lens, and he goes, what kind of things do you do? I said, well, you know, I miniature paint. He goes, oh. He goes, you You want a different prescription for that? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, like some people wear reading glasses or bifocals. He goes, we could actually increase your up-close vision for when you're painting. I said, well, how do you do that? And he goes, well, you're already dominant in the eye that we're going to put a lens in. So the natural step would be to just put a slightly more powerful lens. And he goes, now I will tell you, when you're looking far away, things will be a little blurry in that eye. He goes, that's just the way it'll be. But when you're painting at your bench, he goes, we can make this really sharp for you. And lo and behold, works like a champ. Works like a champ. So thank you, eye doctor, for being a fan of the miniature painting. And I tell you, time and time again, I meet people in the darndest places that are into gaming and everything. But I digress. Let's back up. Let's reel this bad boy back in a second. We were talking about adventures. We were talking about the yawning portal. So there's this notion in all of D&D that we assume as players that we are the righteous. Righteous? Righteous. I said righteous. That we are the righteous and the just. I disagree. We are the scourge of the landscape. How many peasants have died to horrible decisions made by D&D players? I'm sure more than a few. To say one or two, I feel would be a real injustice to those who have perished the wayside to careless adventuring. I mean, how many parties have woken dragons? I know one. How many people are going to suffer for that? How many times has an adventuring group only known that they upset somebody after they found a village burned? I mean, but then so quickly, human nature kicks in, and we say, oh, well, we'll just go defeat the bad guy. That'll make it all better. But it doesn't. Really, does it? The village still burned. No, I implore you. Implore? One of those words. Whichever one's correct. You go with it. If it makes you happy, feel free to use it. Point is, we are not Robin Hood and his merry band of men. We are, in fact, pillaging loot whores, hell-bent on sacking every crypt, delving and crawling every tomb, making bad decisions all the way. Until there is no more loot to plunder. There are no more enemies to defeat. And when this happens, we move on. We find another adventure. But, yeah. I always found it funny that I hear groups talk about that one time they played an evil campaign. And truly, most of you are already playing an evil campaign. I mean, running around with a medieval street gang, raiding and ransacking other people's heritage and history. I know that sounds like an incredibly overly sensitive thing to say, but it's true. It's true. I mean, what would you do if tomorrow you were driving by the old cemetery in your car, and you looked over, and here's 5 random people digging up Grandpa. Now, why are they digging up Grandpa? Because your Grandpa was a hero, and they buried him with his rifle from the war, and everybody knew it was an awesome rifle. So now this group, they need an awesome rifle. Where are they going to get it? Well, they're not going to buy one. They're going to go out and work hard for one. No, they're going to go dig up Grandpa. Sorry, the old Ultra Fiesta Monster Energy hit me strong this morning. The ramble is real. The ramble is real. So we just finished up our sword handles this morning. I want to be able to switch over to some gold paint here real soon. I'm just looking. I've got a little bit of color that I've got to get in behind her hilt of her sword here this morning. It's kind of in a tricky place. It's tricky. It's tricky. Sorry. The old school hip hop is strong with me. Quite frankly, I don't know how you kids do it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe music is timeless. Good music is made all the time. And good music, whether it's a year old or 50 years old, is just good, you know? It's relevant. Something that makes you tap your toe, sticks in your head. Sticks in your head is probably the least appropriate thing. I mean, after all. Painter butt. But still timeless. Yeah, there's people today learning about Elvis, learning about the Beatles, learning about the Stones. Wait, the Stones are still alive. How's that a thing? I really want to get this little spot up under this cloak. And it is so insane. It's like stand on your head, stick your tongue out the corner of your mouth, hope like heck. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Got to do this sword soon. Not looking forward to it. Kind of afraid of it. Weapons always stress me out. I don't know about you all out there. I say you all out there, but it's pretty much just me and Suzanne so far this morning. So I don't know about you, Suzanne. But weapons always stress me out. Oh, I say that, and then Jeremy chimes in. It's okay. That's okay. We'll let him. Jeremy, Suzanne, Jeremy. I always get a little anxiety in my tummy about doing weapons because they always end up being such a focal point, you know? People ignore so much of the rest of the model. And then just look at the weapon. So touchy here. You know, sometimes you get a miniature that doesn't have very well developed lines on some of the detail. And I was talking about this the other day. And you just kind of got to make it up as you go along. And I'm not that good of a painter, so making stuff up as I go along always kind of stresses me out. Sounds like the furnace is going to come on. And I'm going to let it. I know some of you out there are probably like, oh God, not the furnace again. But man, I'm telling you, it's a little chilly back here today. And it's been raining for 2 days now. I mean, if ever you're going to catch the depression, 3 weeks into forced lockdown. Hell, it's been longer than that, hasn't it? A month into being on quarantine. 2 days straight of rainy weather. If you're not depressed, my golly, you are a happy, well-adjusted person. But it was like we just got a little tease of springtime right into this rain. Now the rumor is on the backside of this, we're supposed to have some 60 and 70 degree days, first ones of the year. And if that holds true, I'm going mushroom hunting. Yep, just that simple. Not gonna be sitting around here. You guys will be tuning in to my empty bench. Just put a sign right here. It says, sorry, gone mushroom hunting. So I have learned recently, because I've got you filming here, but I've got it playing there so that I can read everybody's comments. There's a bit of a delay. When you're hearing me talk, it's actually like 30 seconds after I've talked. So, and it might even be a little bit longer than that. No, it's about 30 seconds. It's about 30 seconds. So, when I ask you guys for comments, I've got to discipline myself now and just wait a second. Just chill. Take another gulp of the old Go Juice. Talk a little louder so you can hear me over the old blowhard up there on the wall. What do you guys think? How are we looking so far? It's not bad for getting it based, right? Got a couple little places on her legs I got to touch up. I can see a little bit of white paint down there on her thigh and whatnot, but we'll get her. We'll get her. Starting to look like a miniature now. Can't wait to see somebody playing at a table with it. Can't wait to see somebody playing at a table. Gosh, I miss the laughter. I spent the first 3 months, because most people that know me as kind of an introvert. They know that I don't like large crowds of people. And isn't that kind of like the story of all gamers and nerds? We love people, but we want to watch them from the other side of the room, and we want them to be quiet when we're doing something. We don't want to be disturbed by the other people. It's a thing. Probably got an actual term for it or something. But spent like the first several months that I owned the shop and that I had to run the shop trying to figure out how to deal with it. And it used to really bother me. Like I would always tell people, keep it down, we gotta be quiet, be respectful of other players. And now I just miss it. Got a good friend, Talynth Pt3, great supporter of the shop. I think he's watching right now, so hopefully this will carry a little weight with him. So he's in a relationship with this wonderful girl, and she's got a kid, and that kid, God, I don't mean to sound derogatory, but that kid is almost the shop mascot. All right, and my wife makes a joke out of it all the time, but they'll be playing D&D, and this little girl is so well behaved. Let me just be clear about that. And I don't want to say her name because I know, you know, it's other people's kids, and I want to be respectful and everything. So if you're listening and you're, oh, what's your name? Don't worry about that. It's not the point of the story. But this little girl has got this guy so trained. He'll be DMing a game, and you'll just hear this little bitty girl go, Tyler, chips, Tyler. And the game stops. Tyler walks out. She picks up a bag of chips or something, or a snack, or whatever. Comes to the counter. He hands her the money. And now, I mean, this is a little girl. This is like 4 or 5 years old. She's not very old at all. All right. He'll hand her the money, and she'll walk up to the counter, and she'll just scoot it, just like if this is the quarter and this is the counter, she'll just barely make it up and slide it out. She'll step back and she'll wait for me to bring it up. And this will repeat several times a night. I can't tell you how much I miss that. I don't know why. I think I've just discovered, out of all the grown-ass adult children that come to my shop and game and play and have a good time, that I miss dearly, I miss hearing the Tyler Chips kid. Like, that's the thing I miss the most. I miss the little rugrat running around giving him so much grief. I think it's hilarious. Of all the things you miss, right? But yeah, I miss the sound of people here. Never thought I'd say it. Because in almost everything else I do in my life, I don't enjoy the company of people. They stress me out. They give me anxiety. Maybe you're that way too. I don't know. Shout out in the comments if you're not a fan. If the peoples bother you. We're just kind of sneaking around right now. You know, we did all our blocking and our basing in. And I'm just kind of sneaking around right now. I'm checking everything, making sure that I don't have some spot that didn't get painted. I don't have some spot that needs paint. Holy cow, is Will Shrum watching this? Is that guy even still alive? I heard he moved to Las Vegas or something, and now he's a hitman for the mob. If you're just joining us, we've been the last couple of days painting Laura's mini here. She's playing a female elf great weapon fighter. We were able to find this wonderful miniature through Darkhaven Legends by Reaper called Talynth something. You guys will pronounce it better than I will. But she's an elf barbarian. And it's actually a really, really great sculpt. If you just enjoy painting miniatures, or you're looking to play an elf in the future, I highly recommend it. If it's not available currently through Antiup, oscoda.com, it will be shortly, as we're adding more miniatures every day, increasing our selection, trying to bring you guys the best gaming quality stuff at the most affordable price. Check it out. Please go follow it. It helps a whole bunch with our Google metrics and getting the name out there, and helps build support for our small local game shop here. But yeah, if you enjoy painting miniatures, I highly recommend Reaper Darkhaven Legends. Any of their metal miniatures are absolutely fantastic to paint. Even their plastic ones, plastic miniatures used to get such a bad rap. I know I talked about this yesterday a little bit. Used to get such a bad rap, and let me tell you, they're fantastic these days. Everything that people talk about, that's all, you know, going back like 5-10 years. You know, the technology for making masters and making molds has evolved and changed, and the ability to get a good, precise quality mold is there. Now, these are still production pieces. They're made by the thousands, so you still, you know, you might look at 3 different packages and make sure that you're getting one that is, you know, an early one out of the mold as opposed to a late one out of the mold. You might hunt around a little bit. And we try to do that for you. We try to make sure that anything that we have listed for sale online has already kind of been proof inspected. In fact, a lot of stuff, if it doesn't cut the mustard for us, actually goes back. You know, kind of our guarantee, our for gamers, by gamers guarantee, where we as gamers don't want to sell you something we wouldn't want to play with. It's just that simple. You know, a couple of times in the history of my shop, I've had an unhappy customer, and I've always found it's better to head it off 100% directly and make it right than it is to make a buck. You know, in my experience, if I give you guys the stuff that you want to play with, if I take care of you, if I hold true to my word as the store owner and the shopkeep, then it makes you want to come here, and that inspires me even more. When people choose to come to my shop or order from my store or order from us online, as opposed to hitting a big box seller or an auction site we won't name, it means a lot. If you were willing to spend that extra dollar, or, you know, jump through an extra hoop or deal with an inconvenience to be able to shop from us, really, you know, hits us in the heart, man. We feel it. So, if you're one of those people who purchase from us online or order from us here at the store, we appreciate you. It means a lot to us. You're the reason we do this. Except you, Will. Sorry, just leaned over to read the comments for a second there. Whole lot going on. Seeing lots of bloops and bleeps and bleeps and blops. Take another swig of the go juice. So, I think there's just a couple of spots on her leg that I'd like to give just a little bit more of a coat. And I don't really feel like we're at the highlight process yet, you know? So, I know a lot of people are out there like, you know, this, you could be doing 16 highlights and dynamically shading everything. We're not there, guys. We're not there. Simmer down. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. Look her arms over. Oh, I see a little spot on the underside of that arm that if I don't paint it, it's going to look like she's got body hair. Which, I mean, hey, it's 2020, you be you. You don't want to shave your armpit, that's your business and whatnot, but I have to make certain assumptions here. We have to consider the fact that our barbarian is a believer in the landscaping. Now, if that's inaccurate in any way, and the person who owns this miniature says, no, she wouldn't shave her pits, I'll paint it back on there. I don't care. I'm here to give you what you want. It's your miniature. I'm just painting it. You dig? I dig. Alright. Look back over real quick at this one. Yeah, this one's just not as dark as it should be. Flesh tones over dark colors. Always takes a lot of light coats. It just does. It's just the way it is. Now, I touched on that a little bit at the beginning. It's just as true now as it was then. Just sneak the tip of the brush right up in here underneath this fur to make sure that we're getting her arm all the way up in there. Okay. So I noticed that I handled this a little bit. Morning, Dave. Good to have you here. I noticed that I rubbed a little bit of the black off here. And I also noticed that I did not do the gold embellishments on this weapon. So we're going to touch on a couple of these things first. First, we're going to get the black out, and we're just going to make sure that we get these peaks and highlights where we managed to rub just a little bit of that color off. I told you guys that any kind of handling on a metal miniature, you're almost guaranteed to rub through that color. And then when you combined it with light coats of paint, it makes it even more likely. Alright, so let's just get a little bit of gold down here around the bottom. We've got just this little bit. We don't have a lot on these weapons. And we don't really want it to stand out and, you know, be in your face. We just want it to highlight an accent. I can't speak for the rest of you or your musical preferences. But man, I'm telling you, as soon as I'm done painting today, I am jamming out. There's going to be some loud music in this shop today. Just, I need something to pick me up. If anybody has suggestions, like, you know, what's your go-to feel-good music? All right, when it's just you and the dog or the cat. All right, you're sitting there and you're in your zone and the world is your oyster. What is your go-to, like, let's fucking kick some butt? Ooh, pardon me dropping the F-bomb there. My bad, got a little too relaxed. Any children listening, blame your parents. They let you listen to this, I'm sorry. Anywho, bringing it back to family safe. What's your go-to music? What's your go-to relax and take it easy? Dave says classic rock. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I do, you know, like I like to go a little arena rock, you know, sometimes. Like I like to listen to a little Kansas, a little Boston, a little Journey. Rock, a lot of rock. Tyler, I don't even know who that is. But I'll check it out. I'm pretty open-minded. I'll have to see who that is. All right, so we're just giving it a second for that paint to just dry for just a little bit, so a little easier to handle. Oh, I see a little bit more gold highlight on this that I'd like to just dry brush a little bit. So dry brushing. So I'm just gonna come over here, and put a little bit of gold paint on my brush. I'm just gonna rub off the extra. All right, until I'm just barely leaving gold behind. And now I'm going to come in here to this sword. I'm just going to hit it just a little bit. And it's just going to hit those embellishments, those little actual highlights, you know? That's all we want. That's all we're going for. From 2 feet away on a table, it's going to look amazing. And I implore you, like it is great. It is really great to see models that are painted to like competition quality. They're awesome. They're inspiring. But you don't have to paint at that level to paint a good miniature. You don't have to make every miniature a platinum brush award. You know, it doesn't have to be. If you enjoy that, by all means, if that's your thing, if nothing makes you happier than 4 hours on a 1-inch sword on a miniature that is going to sit on a curio cabinet and remind you of that awesome time you painted a 1-inch sword, man, you live that dream. You be you. But if you're going to play with these pieces, you need to get them done. You need to have a lot of pieces on the table. Don't kill yourself. Quality will come from muscle memory. Muscle memory will come from repetition. Repetition only comes from having to do quantities, batches of stuff. And you're never going to get better if you only ever paint one miniature. You got to paint a lot of miniatures. You're going to paint a lot of miniatures you're not proud of. You're going to paint a lot of miniatures you are proud of. You take the good with the bad. You got to be open-minded and willing to say, you know what, that looks like junk, I'm going to redo it. And you've also got to recognize, when is it good enough? When, you know, what is it, the old carpenter saying, you know, how do you carve that? Well, you know, I start with a rock and I take away everything that isn't what I'm trying to carve, or I take away, take a log and I take away everything that isn't the cup that I'm trying to carve. Same thing. You got to know when to stop sanding, and sometimes applying more paint is not going to make it better. And if somebody ever says your painting sucks, just say cool. Agree to disagree. If you think your painting's awesome, rock it. I gotta tell you guys, I'm really enjoying this this whole From the Bench series. I'm liking it. I'm having a good time with it. So we're gonna take and probably make our first little highlight here. We're gonna take a little bit of the Screamer Pink. We're gonna bring it down to our tan. Hit it with a little water. All right, and we're just gonna start making this flesh tone a little bit more pink. All right, and we're going to keep blending it until we get it where we want it, because we don't want crazy pink. All right, but we do want just a little bit of color. We're just going to sneak it in around her cheeks. And we're not really like applying rouge or makeup. We're just trying to give a little bit more color around the face. All right, same thing. We got that little bit of pink now, because now we're talking highlights. We're gonna come back and we're just gonna hit top of her calves. We're not going for perfection here. We're not worried about it. It's just a visualization of depth. All right, same thing. Grab just a little bit of that pink, because that color is coming from the blood in her veins, flexing muscles, such things. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in from the sides. All right, and it's all cumulative, you know. One little highlight, one simple little highlight, next to another simple little highlight, next to another simple highlight. And then all of a sudden, it's fabulous. So now this time you see I reached over here and I grabbed right in that heavy pink. All right. Get it blended on my palette just a little bit. All right, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do this bicep. This sucker's really working. All right. Maybe just a light touch on the back side of the arm and on the back side of the forearm. Just to give it a little something. And you know, while we're looking here, just a smidge more on the backs of these knees. because we're not one uniform color, are we? I mean, I know when I catch a horrifying glimpse of myself in the mirror on the way out the shower, some bits are pinker than others. Some bits are paler than others. Some things are just terrifying. Terrifying! God. Okay, so now we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to take just a little bit of this white over here. And we're going to lighten up that tan. Alright? It's going to give us our lighter highlight color. Alright, you see how we're kind of creating a gradient here? Alright, we're going to grab just a little bit of that pink, put it in there. Alright, because we still want it to have that fleshy tone. We just want it to be lighter. Alright, now we're going to come back on the very fronts of these thighs. Alright, where she's standing out, flexing and posing. And I know some of you are going to be like, isn't this objectification? And I'm going to say, yeah, it's a statue of a girl. How is that not objectifying? I didn't carve it. I'm just trying to paint it. Alright, we're going to give her just a little highlight on her nose, on the tops of her cheeks. Alright, we don't want to go crazy here. We're not trying to make her look like, oh God. Who was the girl from Mimi from Drew Carey? That's what I was saying. We're not trying to make her Mimi from the Drew Carey show. We're just trying to give her some highlights. Make these surfaces more interesting. You see there, we start working it in, and now all of a sudden, skin's got a little depth to it. All right, and there's a little water with that. We want that to be a little thinner. Go ahead and pull a little bit out of our brush so we can just have it on the tip of our brush where we want it. All right, and you can see, I don't know how well you can see against my finger. All right, we'll do it against this. You can see, you know, just how the very tip of that brush is all that's holding my paint. All right, I don't know. Let me come up here. Maybe it'll focus. Focus, please. Please focus. Please focus, Mr. Camera. Okay, close. You know, close enough. You guys can see just that very tip. Just that very tip. Hey, Mr. Long, how are you doing this morning? Lowell, good to have you. You guys are just tuning in. We're doing some more work on our great weapon fighter here. Been doing highlights on legs and cheeks and faces and stuff. Starting to look pretty good. Getting pretty happy with it. All right. So we should probably throw a wash now at her body section and her armor, just to get that kind of out of the way, give it a chance to sink in. Now, got a couple of options here. There are definitely things that we can work within here. First option, Seraph and Sepia. All right, it's a great shade color. If I spread some out here, you can see it's got a light brown, kind of hazelnutty kind of color. Oh God, did I just say something was taupe? Is that what just happened? Next up, Agrax Earthshade. All right, and if I spread that out, you can see it's a little darker, a little more coffee colored. All right, and then our third option, gotta put a little bit of this on the palette first. Well, I suppose I could just, got our Burnt Umber ink wash, and this is a little bottle of it's got ink, it's got some flow aid, a little water to thin it down, but these are kind of our three shades. And I think what I'd like to see is for her leather like skirt kilt gimmick, maybe this color, maybe the Agrax Earthshade. And then I think coming back over her linen and her shirt with a very thinned down layer of the Seraphim. I think that's the way to go. And then we'll do a classic black wash on the skull, and we'll do a wash on her little medallion and bits that are up there. And it'll pop. It'll come out pretty good, because we got to get these washes in before we can paint her necklace. We don't want to paint a bunch of brilliant, bright colors for her necklace and then throw a dirt wash over it. It wouldn't look right. So let's go ahead and I suppose now is a okay time to add to our palette just a little bit. Now see, it's really tempting when your palette gets kind of full like that to want to go ahead and just throw it away, but that's all the colors we're using on this model. If we have to fix something, we've got them right there. We've got to touch her leg up. We've got to touch her cheek up. We've got to touch her face up. Just gotta grab my scissors real quick. And all I'm going to do is cut a small piece of parchment paper. All right, nothing crazy. I don't care that the end is scribbled. And when you put your parchment down, always save your little scraps like this, because this is when they're important. All right, and we're just going to slap it down here. And the first thing it's going to want to do is curl up. All right, you see that? It's curling up because it's drawing moisture in from one side. All right, so we're just going to unroll it. We're going to lay it down the other way. All right, that's all we need to do. Get a little bit of water on our fingers. Just make sure that it lays in here. And we still got a fair amount of water in our wet palette. We do want to make sure that this edge here is lying down and moist, because that's like the only thing you really got to look out for with a wet palette is if one end starts to curl up a little bit, it'll dry and it'll wick, and then all of a sudden you'll have a whole edge curled up, or you'll come in the next morning, you pull your lid up and be flopped up. We're going to throw just a little bit more water at our wet palette here. Make sure that everything's kind of floating, looking good. Excellent. All right. So you're always looking for is this nice glisten on the top of your foam or sponge or whatever here. All right, you can just kind of see there's a fair amount of water on the sides. So now, let's live a little dangerous. We're going to start drop of our Agrax Earthshade. You can see how much of that we're going to use. All right, and that's our darker brown. That's our middle brown right there. All right, so now we're going to reach over here and grab a little water. All right, and I actually should just grab a little bit of this flow aid. Now the trick is not to do too much, just that couple drops. That's it, that's all we're looking for. All right, we're gonna stir that together. See how quickly that washes out? All right, that's what we're looking for. Start with a sacrificial lamb and we'll go with her boots. All right, I can tell you right now, it's not dark enough. It needs to be a little darker. All right, so back to it. Another drop, 2 drops right there. That's all we're gonna do. How's that looking? Oh, that's looking better. And it's a wash. Don't be afraid to put a lot on it. It's a wash. It's going to dry. It's going to settle into all the recesses. It's going to look fabulous. All miniatures, all of them. I don't care if you're the best painter in the world, all of them are going to go through a period of time that you look at it and you say, oh, did I just screw this up? Then stick to it. Stick through it, and you'll come out the other side and you'll be like, oh, thank God, I got lucky. And slowly over time you'll learn it wasn't luck. It was you developing the skill set and the abilities necessary to paint a quality model. And we're not being too worried here, all right? We want to make sure that we're putting enough of this on to flow right into these recesses and these bits. And you're going to see it's going to make all this jump out. All these little details are just going to pop. Oh, now see, that we didn't want. We did not want wash down there. So we're just going to dry our brush real quick. We're going to slip it down there and it's going to vacuum it right up. All right, great little trick. Washes want to use capillary action. Ooh, wow, big expensive word. Capillary action to flow in along seams and lines. So it's not uncommon for them to try to pull themselves to places that you don't want them. All right, and now we've got to do this sword. So we're going to do the sword, and then you can see we've got it down here next to the skirt where we don't want it, so we dried that brush. Watch this. Just going to pull it right up out. Just going to vacuum it right out. All right, and where'd that wash go? Right into our brush. All right, so there's the wash on there. And we do want, I think we're going to do our Syrup and Sepia at full strength up here on her shirt. All right, and we're just going to do that little bit right up there for right this second. All right, we're going to spread this around. We're going to use that little bit of wash that we put right there on the front, and we're going to pull that out of those recesses now and use that to do the rest. All right, and yeah, we're doing the back side. Nobody's going to see it, but we'll know it was there. All right, and if we know it was there, we'll never get away from it. We're just hitting this skull just a little bit to get a little brown into it. We want it to have that little bit of brown. Now, I don't want a ton of wash color into her linen, her dress or her skirt. So we're going to thin it down on our palette considerably. All right, we're going to dilute the schnoz out of it till it's almost translucent, because we just don't want it. We don't need it to lay in there. We don't need that extra color. We're going to pull it out. We just want it to give it just the slightest hint of that tan color. All right, that's all we're looking to get. We don't want any tea staining, so we're looking up around here, making sure that we don't have too much extra. If you don't know what tea staining is you get a drop, and it sits there long enough that as you're doing everything else, all right, that one drop will get a dry ring around it, like this spot right here. And then no matter what you do, no matter how even that paint job is, you'll always have that ring there, and it's called tea stain, just like a tea stain on a table. All right, now we are going to take just a bit of the two. All right, find a middle ground for them. It's just a little darker. All right, this is going to be our skin shade. This is what we're going to just wash her skin with. Because she needs to have a little bit of color worked into the recesses so that the highlights pop and the lowlights pop and everything looks good with the world. And we're just going to hit these boots one more time, because I want them to be a little bit darker than that. We might even come back over those boots as some of that leather with more of a burnt umber. But you can kind of see now how she's starting to shape up and starting to look. And it's an evolution. Like yesterday, to look at this model, you'd say, oh, that's not that great. It's not that good. And it probably still isn't. Truthfully, there's people out there who can just smoke me at this. And, you know, mad respect for those people. And we're going to go ahead again. We didn't want the color down next to that sword, so we're just going to lift it out. If you don't want the wash color somewhere, lift it out. Dry that brush, slip it right into that seam, and pull that color out. It will come, it will flow. It wants to go to that dry brush. That capillary action is going to pull it. All right, so there we go. Looking pretty good. Pretty happy with this so far. Now we got to switch over to her back. That'll give this just a second to dry up. I'm going to hold it like a lollipop here. And we're going to take some of our shade and we're going to run it right down here. You know what? Honestly, I think this is where I want to add this little bit of burnt umber. We've done, oh, you know what? Let's do her arm first. While we have some of this made up that's not super strong, we can get that color on it. All right, I know it doesn't look like we're putting a lot there, but trust me, when it dries, and it settles into all those little recesses, it'll be the difference. All right, so now that we have all our skin color done, here's where we're gonna go a little nuclear, because this is ink, all right? This ain't playing around. You know, paint pigment. I can make 100 of these bottles with the amount of pigment that's in this bottle. All right, that's how much stronger it is. All right, so we're gonna swirl it in here. Just gonna blend them all together. You can kind of see how we're just barely translucent there. We're just seeing like the high spots of our parchment. That tells us we're about where we want to be. No guts, no glory. Let's go for it. We're gonna paint right down this sword. All right, and then the unthinkable. We're going to run this right down the back of this cloak. Pick up just a little bit of brown around the edge of this black. Because most of the time in nature, when you see black, it's actually a really dark brown. Same thing, we're going to chase right up the inside of the sword. Yep, I know, nobody's going to see it, but we're going to know it's there, and we are going to paint the inside of this cloak. The inside of this hide is going to get painted before it goes on, or mark my words. I feel like I just set myself up for failure right there. All right, so then we're very carefully going to set her back in a hole there. We're going to come back and we're going to grab some of this. All right, specifically dry off our brush there just a little bit, because we don't need a ton of this, but we do want a drop up on that and a drop up on her shoulder armor, and we're just going to chase through her armor and her belt just one time really quickly with this, because it's such a great wash shade. It'll really make a lot of that pop and stand out darker. Same thing with her boots. I want her boots darker, so we're going to let them get darker. And we very, very subtly just get in here, do the inside of her apron, and then immediately come back and remove it. There we go. Same thing here, we're just gonna tan it up just a little bit. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now we're gonna settle just a little bit into her face, pick up her lips and her eyes, and we're gonna paint eyes on her. We're not gonna be cheating our way out, but we're not doing it yet. We're gonna have to wait for some of this to dry up. All right, and that's about as far as we can take her for today. We could try to risk painting her sword and stuff like that, but truthfully, it's better to let this sit and thoroughly dry. And really have some time for all these washes to congeal and dry up, because otherwise, if you come back and paint this even in 20 or 30 minutes, some of these inks, they can hold their moisture in these recesses and these corners for a little while. And you don't want to go to paint a bright, vibrant color and then pull burnt umber ink with you. So I hope you guys are enjoying our little series here, and I hope maybe some of you are learning some tips, learning some tricks. I hope we paint something that Laura is going to be happy with and going to enjoy for years and years and years. And then we'll take a look here at the cloak, how that's coming out. Focus. There you go. And we'll meet back either later today or tomorrow. And don't forget, we have our store-wide auction coming up Friday afternoon. So if you have time and you're available Friday, what we're going to be doing is we're going to let people come down to the parking lot, park in our parking lot, and then we're going to do an online auction so that you guys can get some dice, some card supplies, some D&D supplies, and be able to stock up, because this isn't going to last forever. This whole COVID thing, it's not the end of the world. It's just a new phase. All right? Well, let me tell you something. You know, I've been around here for 4 decades now. You can't get mad that the world's changing. It's getting smaller every day. It's getting different every day. You have to embrace the changes. Some things you can change and you can affect and you can slow down, but ultimately nothing stays the same. People come and go. Everything evolves. That's why you look back and you have such cherished memories of the way things were. If they didn't change, you wouldn't have things the way they were. If they didn't change, you wouldn't meet new people. You got to take the good with the bad. This is just a phase. We're going to make it through it together. We're going to make it through it on the backside. This game shop's going to still be here because of our great patrons. I'd like to do a shout out real quick to Tyler Thorpe, Will Schrum, Taylor Chase, Jeremy Otis, Michael Long, Chris and Suzanne Wall, all the people who have continued to find ways to do business with this shop and help and support this shop through these hard times. And I hope that I can be here for years to come to give you guys the games and the materials and the knowledge that you need to continue to have great gaming experiences, making new friends, and having new adventures together. So, have a good day. Have a safe day. Hug your family. Live long. Prosper. And I'll see you later.